So after another busy weekend of championship action, we've got it all to discuss in today's video. Let's jump into it. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Now, in today's video, we are going to be rounding up all the action that took place this weekend in the Championship, as well as predicting the midweek matches that we've got going on this week. So make sure to get your midweek score predictions down below. And speaking of your guys' score predictions, this is how the main prediction league is currently looking. So J-Matt's still leading the way, now with 31 points. Now, I must admit, there were some massive scores in here this week, so fair play to everyone that did get into double figures for points. I didn't do all too bad myself. I picked up 12 points this week, which I'll take. This is how League 1 is looking at this point in time. Quite a few familiar faces making up this league at the moment. And then this is how League 2 is currently shaping up, so it'll take you at least 19 points at the moment to get yourself onto the leaderboard. As always, all you need to do to enter the prediction league is leave your score predictions down below. But without any further ado, let's jump into these matches. Starting out with Saturday's early kickoff, that saw Peterborough turn things around late on to beat Derby by 2-1. Now, the first half, there wasn't all too much quality in this game. Best chance of the game was probably Clark Harris with that speculative long-range effort, which almost caught out Roos, to be fair. But heading into the second half, the biggest blow for Derby was Kazim Richards going off with what looked to be a serious injury that could have some quite long-standing implications for Derby's season there. But the man that came on for him, Jack Stretton, scored the opener with an absolute thunderbolt of a goal. But after that, Derby's game management of this one was so poor. Now, Peterborough last season in League 1 were actually really good at coming back from losing positions. Darren Ferguson made a couple of tweaks in this game, and both substitutes ended up scoring in Burrows and Dembele. Joe Ward had a role to play in each of these goals. From Derby's perspective, Joswiak was poor for the first goal. He got caught napping from that set piece. And for the second goal, Nathan Byrne gets himself in all sorts of a mess. For Peterborough, though, especially after game week 1, that result is absolutely massive there, you know, especially with newly promoted sides. To get that first win of the season under your belt, you know, a few games into the season, is absolutely massive. So, yeah, big result there for Peterborough. For Derby, not great. Next up, we then head to Oakwell as we had Barnsley beating Coventry by 1-0. Now, good win for Barnsley to get their first 3 points on the board of the season under Marcus Schopp. Clearly, this is going to be a bit of a process for them over these next few months to really sort of stylistically, you know, get to where they want to be. But Coventry probably will feel a little bit hard done by this point, really, because they actually played some quite nice football. They probably edged it in terms of the chances created for this one as well. You know, up until the point Barnsley took the lead, it was Coventry who were really knocking on the door. You know, Callum O'Hare had a good chance, Gyökeres had a good chance which came off the bar, but Barnsley, you know, fair play to them, took their chance when it came around. Second half, and Coventry were once again knocking on the door. Gustavo Hamer had a free kick which had to be tipped over, but the golden opportunity came in the 93rd minute. It took the referee a little bit of thinking before he eventually gave the penalty. Gyökeres stepped up to take it, and it wasn't the best penalty in the world in the end, was it? It was a good save by Collins, to be fair, but it wasn't exactly hit with a great amount of power, or it was right in the corner or anything like that. It was a little bit too comfortable for the goalkeeper, and in the end Barnsley managed to hold out for all 3 points. So yeah, positives to take from this one for Coventry. The fact that they did create so many chances and got into those positions, just need to be a little bit more clinical. Next up then, we have Birmingham playing out a goalless draw with Stoke this weekend. Definitely not the game of the weekend, but there were a few talking points from this one regardless. Probably Birmingham's best chances of the afternoon fell to Scott Hogan, but things just aren't clicking for him at the moment, are they? We spoke about Hogan, one of the chances he missed on the opening day of the season, and the same sort of occurred in this one, really. He just doesn't seem to have that confidence in front of goal at the moment for whatever reason, and that's really the one area where we're looking at Birmingham at the moment and thinking, will they have enough goals in them, you know, because defensively and the midfield look quite well shaped in this one. From Stoke's point of view, it was the first time we got to see in the league Ben Wilmot, Harry Souttar and Leo Ostergaard starting together as a back three, and they kept a clean sheet in this one, which will be a confidence booster for them going forward. But yeah, maybe just a bit of a weird atmosphere in this one, given that Birmingham had to obviously close 2 of their stands for this one. Next up then to Bloomfield Road, we had Cardiff beating Blackpool by 2-0. Now, if you watched Friday's preview video, we spoke about how good Cardiff's away record was last season, and they picked off from where they left off last time with a 2-0 win here, and I think they were comfortably the better team in this one. In the first half especially, their balls into the box and Marlon Pack's long throws especially were causing all sorts of problems. I think that Sean Morrison won 10 out of the 11 aerial duels he had for this game. He was absolutely dominant. They had chances to take the lead in the first half. Chris Maxwell came up with a couple of saves, and Flint hit the crossbar as well. well. Ultimately, their breakthrough came in the second half though, and it did come from one of those Marlon Pack long throws. It was Morrison who got the flick on, and then Bakuna at the far post made it 1. The second goal was a little bit more controversial because Blackpool by this point had started to grow into the game a little bit. Grant Ward nearly stood an absolute whirly, but Dylan Phillips managed to tip that one around the post. Could Blackpool have had a penalty before Cardiff scored their second goal? Very possibly, for a handball from Aidan Flint, but then from that, Cardiff score one of the breakaway goals of the season here. Ryan Giles with an inch perfect ball into the head of Keith Moore, who makes it 2 for Cardiff. And that's the sort of luxury that Cardiff have now from an attacking department. You know, Collins led the line for the first portion of this match, and to have Keith Moore as an option off the bench. Good win for Cardiff on the road here. And like I said, they did have the better chances and probably deserved to win this one. Next up then we had Huddersfield 1, Fulham 5. Now this is the sort of flair that we were all expecting Fulham to be playing with this season. They were by far and away the better team in this one. Schofield had a bit of a howler, to be honest with you, and I can't help but feel like he could do with being taken out of the firing line. I know that they persisted with him at times last season when maybe, you know, he could have been taken out then, but he really struggled in this game. The opening goal was a mess from all angles, really. I think the ball had actually gone out of play when he keeps it in and then kicks it straight at Mitrovic, who has a tap in to make it 1. The second goal, he's quite weak, he's rooted to his line, and Josh Onomah makes it 2. Huddersfield do get that goal back from Matty Pearson, but then a matter of moments later, and Fulham make it 3 through Carvalho. In the second half, the Wilson red card was a little bit reckless from Fulham, especially considering the situation they found themselves in, but Ivan Caballero then gets brought off the bench and scores a brace in just 13 minutes. Bobby Reid was another standout player for Fulham in this one. He got 3 assists. The third assist, especially for the first Caballero goal, was absolutely brilliant. Perfectly weighted ball over the top into the path of him, who tucked it away nicely. Caballero, by the way, loves the goal against Huddersfield, doesn't he? I remember him scoring one a couple of seasons ago that was an absolute beauty. But yeah, quite a few warning signs here from Huddersfield, especially in terms of a defensive point of view. We saw this quite a few times last season actually, and the same mistakes were being made in this game. Midweek they play my team Preston, and that's already shaping up to be a pretty big match. Next up then we had QPR beating Hull by 3-0. Now I don't even think that this was necessarily an awful performance here from Hull. QPR were just very clinical with the chances they took, and there were a few mistakes at the back from Hull. I mean, the first goal especially, I think Matt Ingram should be doing better with it, but well taken from Willock nonetheless. At 1-0, Hull were knocking on the door, you know. Probably Rob Dickey's best moment of the match came from that amazing goal line clearance. You know, should that goal go in for Hull, then it's a completely different game heading into the second half. Into that second half though, and QPR's quality going forward really tells. Dykes makes it 2, and then Rob Dickey makes it 3 for his 3rd goal of the season already. Absolutely crazy stuff. But from Hull's point of view, you know, Sonny Dieng had to be kept on his toes. He made a couple saves throughout the afternoon. The red card for George Moncur obviously didn't help proceedings in the last 20 minutes of the match. But I'm in no doubt that Hull will dust themselves down from this one, and they'll look to go again. From QPR's perspective, up and running for the season, and a lot of positives to take from this one. Next up then we have Middlesbrough claiming their first win of the season as they beat Bristol City by 2-1. Now Ikpeazu was central to a lot of the good stuff that Middlesbrough were doing going forward. He scored the opener and went on to set up the winner. But the one play that I wanted to pick up on from Middlesbrough's point of view was Isaiah Jones. In the first half especially, he was causing Bristol City all sorts of problems. He was really sticking out on that left hand side, provided a lot of width and was that sort of out ball. He had a part to play in the opening goal. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do as this season goes on. I didn't really know all too much about him before this game, but yeah, he really stuck out to me after this one. Bristol City's best spell of the game came in the second half, the first sort of 15 or so minutes of that half. Andy King equalises, if they were going to go on and win this game, the second goal was going to come around about that time, because they did have a bit of a spell on top. But after nothing really resulted from that push forward, Middlesbrough went on to win this one, and Matt Crooks stuck away the goal to make it 2 for Borough. The worrying thing from Bristol City's perspective was that if they didn't get off to a good start of this season, then it would feel like a continuation of the end of last season when they ended last year in such bad form. You know, they really need this first win of the season for a morale boost more than anything at the moment. Next up then to the den, we have Millwall drawing 1-1 with Blackburn. Now, really frustrating stuff here for Millwall, who dominated the ball for a lot of this one, had the majority of the chances going their way, took the lead, but ultimately dropped points thanks to Blackburn scoring the only shot on target they had in this one, with Ben Barrett and Diaz popping up with another goal for the season. Now, from Millwall's perspective, it feels like they're so close to being a really good team. They're still just missing that bit more firepower in the final third. Now, I don't know know whether that's going to come in the form of them bringing in another striker and allowing Jed Wallace to maybe drop a little bit deeper into a more creative role, or they sort of persist with Wallace and Afobe as that sort of forward two, and they look to add a bit more creativity into that midfield. Even so, it feels like Millwall are close to doing something. They're just missing that final spark. The goal Millwall scored, to be fair, was an absolutely brilliant, well-worked goal. Daniel Ballo with a cross-field switch into Scott Malone, who then dragged the ball across into the path of Jed Wallace. But yeah, Blackburn only needed that one moment of quality to get back into this game, which is a frustration from Millwall. After that, we then had Bournemouth beating Forest by 2-1. A few moments of Bournemouth really won this game for them. The first one, David Brooks brilliantly taken. A nice give and go between him and Dom Solanke meant that Bournemouth went into half time at 1-0. Now, from Forest's point of view, it was a disappointing afternoon, but probably the brightest sparks were always coming from Zinkernagel. I think that's going to be a brilliant signing for this season. He chipped in with another assist in this one. Brilliant ball into the box, and Scott McKenna meets it to make it 1-1. That would only last for 10 minutes though before Bournemouth re-established their lead. It's another give and go that Forest are caught out by, this time between Anthony and Philip Billing, who tucks it away to make it 2 for Bournemouth. What could have turned out to be a game-changing moment came when David Brooks picked up his second yellow card of the game for a really silly thing, really. He's just holding the shirt of a Forest player, but where on the pitch he's doing it, like he's in the Forest half, there's no danger of Forest scoring from this position, and with him already being on the yellow card, it's a little bit silly to say the least. Bournemouth do get a third, but it is ruled out for offside. Forest then are knocking on the door. Lewis Grabban goes close, but he's also ruled offside as he hits the crossbar. And ultimately Forest fall to their second defeat of the season, and along with Preston are the only team yet to pick up a point this season. Up next we then had Reading beating North End by 2-1. If you've not seen the matchday vlog that we did for this game on the channel the other day, make sure to go ahead and check that out. But it's worrying times for North End at the moment. The first half especially felt like a bit of a continuation from the whole game. We offered absolutely no threat going forward whatsoever. After 28 minutes, Reading took the lead. Really poor from Andy Hughes here. I don't think we can continue with the back three of Hughes, Story and Lindsay. You can probably get away with carrying one of them if you've got two other quality defenders in and around them, but having those three as a back three just isn't good enough, and we will continue to leak goals, you know. Liam Lindsay up against Lucas Jow today was probably one of the biggest mismatches we'll see all season. He had him in absolute tangles throughout the 90. Jow probably should have made it 2 for Reading in the second half. After that we'd win a penalty, sort of against the run of play, but I was hopeful that this would be the spark for us. DJ slots that away like he always does, but that doesn't last all too long. I think about 7 minutes later, Reading go up the pitch, and it's so easy for them. They pass their way through our midfield. You know, the absence of someone like a Ben Payson in there is really telling at the moment. Story's really poor for this goal as Swift tucks it away to make it 2. We do have a flurry of chances in the last sort of 5-10 minutes of this match, but why it takes us to be 2-1 down in the final stages of the match to have any sort of attacking threat about us is worrying. Reading were deserving of their 3 points in this one, and North End really need to pull something out of the bag in our next 2 matches as we go up against Huddersfield and Peterborough, because should we lose those 2 matches, yeah, things get worrying after that. Next then to the Hawthorns, we had West Brom 3, Luton 2. For the first 45 minutes, West Brom seemed to catch Luton sleeping, really. They were all over them. They were gifted the first goal, really, with the Naismith own goal, but after that, Callum Robinson makes it 2, converting from a corner. Once again, that high press on show here for West Brom. They really had Luton boxed in for this one. They get their third goal, which is created by Robinson this time, scored by Carlin Grant. That will do his confidence the world of good. But after that, Luton came away with this second half especially with a lot of credit. I think, you know, West Brom sort of play themselves into trouble for the first goal, the Luton score from Harry Cornick, and then Panzu scores the second. But they had a fair few amount of chances in that second half for Luton, and like I say, do make their scoreline respectable again, given they weren't really at the races for the first half. And then for our last game to go over, we had Swansea against Sheffield United playing out a goalless draw. Not all too much to discuss with this one. There weren't all too many talking points. Both goalkeepers dealt with what little action came their way, really. There weren't really all too many clear-cut chances for this one. It was Swansea who had more of the ball though, which was interesting, obviously. 2 new managers coming in here who are looking to build up their teams in this new sort of possession-based football. With Sheffield United, they have been the slower starter so far out of the newly relegated sides coming down from the Premier League. I think that a lot of people did call that at the start of the season. Typically, when Slav comes into a new job, it does take a while for things to properly click with them, and I think we're seeing evidence of that with Sheffield United at the moment. It'll it'll be very interesting to see how they get on in midweek against West Brom. But yeah, each side was just lacking that bit more of a spark in the final third. But there we have it, guys. There were all the matches that took place in the Championship over this weekend. As always, get your thoughts down below. What did you make of your team's performance? Now, without any further ado though, let's hop into my midweek score predictions. So make sure to go ahead and get your score predictions in the comments down below. Starting out with Barnsley going up against Luton, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. If Luton can take elements of their second half performance against West Brom into this one against Barnsley, then I think they could get something out of this one. Obviously, Barnsley got over the line in the end against Coventry, but they did look a little bit susceptible at the back at times, so I'll go for a draw in that one. Blackpool up against Coventry, like we were just mentioning before. Thought Coventry got a little bit unlucky on Saturday not to get anything in that game against Barnsley. They got into a lot of good areas, but just didn't have that clinical ability about them in the final third. If they can find that in this game, they may just about edge their way past Blackpool, who haven't quite got going yet so far this season. Huddersfield up against Preston feels like an absolutely massive game for both sides this early on into the season. Preston, one of two sides who are currently pointless in the league, and Huddersfield, just after shipping 5 goals against Fulham, won't exactly be playing with the most confidence at the moment. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one, but both sides could really do with 3 points. Millwall up against Fulham, I wouldn't be all too surprised to see this one ending as a draw. Obviously, Fulham will be without Harry Wilson, but even without Wilson, they've still got an abundance of attacking quality in this one. It's just a question of if Millwall have the quality in the final third to really hurt Fulham. I'm just going to edge the away side for that one and go 2-1 Fulham, I think. Peterborough up against Cardiff. Good comeback for Peterborough on Saturday, but I'm just going to edge Cardiff for this one. I thought they looked quite good and comfortable in that game against Blackpool, and I think they'll make it 2-2 in this one with a 2-1 away victory. Swansea up against Stoke. Both sides were involved in goalless draws this weekend, so I'm going to go for a goalless draw in this one. It would be typical of the Championship though if this one was to be a crazy 4-4 draw or something like that, but I'll go for a 0-0. Then we got Reading going up against Bristol City as the last of the Tuesday matches. I'm going to edge Reading for this one, you know. I thought they looked decent in spells against Preston, and if they can take that into this game against Bristol City, who haven't really started the season out all too well so far, I think they'll get their way past them, and I'll go 2-0 to the home side. Birmingham up against Bournemouth up next. Birmingham do like taking points off those sides in and around the top of the table. You know, we saw them frustrate Sheffield United on the opening day. It was another point against Stoke last time out. I'm going to back Bournemouth for this one, but I wouldn't be all too surprised to see Birmingham get something out of this. I'm going to go 2-0 Bournemouth. Just have a few questions at the moment over Birmingham's attacking lineup. Hull going up against Derby. I think I'm going to go Hull, you know. Even with them losing 3-0 over the weekend, I thought they created enough chances and will have enough going forward to cause Derby some problems in this game. That loss against Peterborough, I think, really could have been a damning one for Derby. Middlesbrough up against QPR. Draw wouldn't surprise me in this one, but I'm just going to edge QPR, I think, for this one. Warnock will set his side up as hard to beat, and we gave them quite a lot of positives this weekend because I think they deserved it. But I think QPR may just edge this one from an attacking sense. Forest going up against Blackburn. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Obviously, Forest yet to get any points on the board so far this season. Blackburn probably going to look to play on the counter. They may not create the most opportunities going forward, like we didn't really see them do much against Millwall. But I think they may have just 1 or 2 moments of quality, which may get them through this one. You know, it would be typical if Ben Brereton Diaz scores against his former club. And then finally, at the Hawthorns, we've got West Brom going up against Sheffield United. Sheff United yet to really get going so far this season, coming up against this West Brom side who do look like they do have goals in them. I think I'm going to go West Brom 2-0 in this game. I think come the end of the season, Sheff United will be a different team than they are now, but at this current point in time, I think the West Brom are looking stronger. So as you can see to the side of me, those are my score predictions for the midweek action that we got going on in the Championship on Tuesday and Wednesday. So as always, get all your score predictions down below. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stay tuned for some regular Championship content. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.